We're laughing aloud now, magic in the air. Wands roll around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizard.
HASBRO reports third quarter 2024 financial results. Massive restructuring and massive layoffs coming. Wizards of the Coast changes commander and rumors of a move. What's that? So Wizards, that's right. The Q3 numbers dropped. HASBRO delayed printing them. We've had at least confirmation of 2 individuals losing their jobs already, one of which was the guy who was in charge of basically the influencers. That guy's gone. So the guy who decides whether Genie D gets a copy of the game or not, he's gone. We know another guy is gone, but we don't know who it was. We know the Q3 numbers dropped, and they're not good, but stock's up, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. There was an announcement that Wizards had vastly changed commander, Magic the Gathering commander, and now are in charge of it as opposed to the independent organization was in charge of it. I think that's a rumor. I don't know. There's rumors of a restructure. In the letter that the guy wrote about him losing his job, he lost his job because he was informed there was a huge restructure coming on. There's talk about moving from Seattle to Boston, something going on with Wizards of the Coast Rhode Island, and workers from Wizards of the Coast Rhode Island being told to move to Seattle. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors. We do know a restructure is coming on. We do know, considering what time of year it is, that there's going to probably be layoffs. But now, of course, we got to get into the numbers. And yes, Dark Winter, they lost money. Now, because me talking about numbers is really, 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 really boring, here's some puppies. All right. This is everything. Here's the number one thing you want to hear. Revenue declined 15%. Revenue declined 9%. Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming segment declined 5%. And consumer products declined 10%. Operating profit of $302 million with a margin of 23% and $27 million in costs. An operating profit adjusted of $329 million. The amount of money they made was $1.8 billion so far, which is down. They have somehow managed to once again lose money. HASBRO inventory down 39%. We see a 40% decline in consumer products. Sorry, guys, toys just aren't selling. I can't imagine why your toys aren't selling, HASBRO. Maybe it's because you keep giving up on the franchise. Oh, where the Power Rangers toys aren't selling? Because you fucked over the franchise. Oh, the Transformer toys aren't selling because you fucked over the franchise. Oh, the G.I. Joe toys aren't selling because you fucked over the franchise. Reported net earnings, 1.59, down from the 1.73 of this time last year. So somehow they lost money again. Revenue decreased of Magic the Gathering Dungeons and Dragons, but that's somehow because they lost Baldur's Gate. So I don't know where those sales of the Player's Handbook are going to go, probably in Q4. And the DM's Guide sales, probably in Q4. But Monopoly Go, but yeah. On the bright side, Magic the Gathering revenue increased 3%. Have you heard they're doing a Magic the Gathering Marvel Comics crossover? So yes, I guess that means Spider-Man's now canon in Dungeons and Dragons. Click, click, click. Of course, weird synergy that the very first superhero role-playing game was created because somebody wanted to play Spider-Man and the Flash in an early D&D game. And the guy had to come up with rules for Spider-Man and the Flash. And that became the very first superhero role-playing game. And now I guess Magic the Gathering and Marvel. And we know, according to Scott Gareby, that means Spider-Man and all the other Marvel characters are now canon in D&D. Because that's just, revenue decreased 10% by existing brands, growth in Furby and My Little Pony, some growth in Transformers because of the new movie, and Beyblade of all things. Now, of all those, I still do not understand the Furby thing. Consistently, every quarter, Furby is selling. Somebody please explain this to me. I don't get it. Of all the products that they make, Furby is the one. It's got to be an Asian thing, right? It's got to be a Japan thing. There's got to be like a massive Furby cult in Japan or something. I don't know. It just makes no sense because it's the number one selling product that they have. How come I've never seen any anywhere? I don't know. More puppies, please. Oh, yeah. Oh, but entertainment revenue declined 86%. They're still losing money from eOne. It's been over a year since they lost eOne. They're still losing money. Loss of $469 million in the third quarter last year. So their profit from last year is $10 million. Adjusted operating profit is $13 million compared to the adjusted operating profit at $8 million in this time last year. Hasbro's year-to-date 2024 has declined 18%. Wizards of the Coast has declined 16%, and entertainment 87%, not counting digital. Operating profit of blah, blah, numbers, adjusted profit, blah, 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 reported net earnings, blah, 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 year-to-date segments, revenue increase 7% Magic the Gathering because of digital licenses, tabletop revenue 3% because of Magic the Gathering, Monopoly Go 74 million, operating profit increased 30%, operating project margin increased 47% due to higher digital licensing, consumer product segment. Revenue decreased 16% for all the exciting brands. Blah, 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 blah. Revenue down 12%. Total adjusted 1.25 billion down. Forward statements going into Q4 in 2025. Well, it shouldn't surprise anybody. It's gonna be AI digital. We have some insight from our friends over at the Pickled Dragon, Dracoya, the Pickled Dragon, and the Pickled Dragon himself in regards to their insights and their hints. I'm not saying if I still have a content at Wizards or not, but I do have a little bit of insight. And then, of course, we've got Stephen Glicker, and everybody's talking about an upcoming massive layoff. All the people who do actual physical work at Wizards of the Coast are probably going to be losing their jobs either tomorrow or anytime between today and year end. As we get closer to closer, what a lot of people are saying there are layoffs. There hasn't been any announcement of layoffs other than the two guys. I can definitely 100% confirm two people have lost their jobs. One was the guy who's in charge of influencers, and the other, I don't know. I just know somebody else lost their job, and he or she was somebody who was there for a long time. And of course, there's the thing about Chris Perkins getting his new job, being moved away from physical hands-on and more of the behind-the-scenes corporate, which I think is great for him. Other than that, I don't know. I'll check what Nerd Immersion says about layoffs in a sec. Let me check. What Nerd Immersion says. DF layoffs. Let's see what he says. All right, one God. Everybody's saying layoffs. One guy is not a bunch of layoffs. One guy is one guy. So far, we've confirmed that one guy has lost their job. I don't know about anybody else losing their jobs yet. There's been nothing else announced. I am sure we will hear about it later today or tomorrow. I think we're just expecting to be more layoffs because of the numbers and because of just the changes. The, oh my God, Wizards doing what? Changes that Wizards has been telling you they're going to do and Hasbro has been telling you they're going to do since 2020 are happening. And they're happening at a rapid pace because I don't know if you know this, but it's 2025. And I don't know what date has been on the calendar since 2020 that someone, I don't know who, someone has been telling you was going to happen since 2020, that in 2027 we can expect a huge amount of layoffs. And again, in 2030, we can expect a huge amount of layoffs because there's going to be a huge transition from physical to digital and from AI doing all the work as opposed to actual people doing the work. I don't know who's been telling us that that's going to be happening since, I don't know, for the past 5 years. Oh yeah, me. Suck it, each and every one of you who said I was wrong. So yes, I think we can expect more layoffs. Tomorrow's Friday. We're going into a holiday weekends. We've got Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. Any big layoffs that are going to happen before Christmas. They're usually going to happen on a Friday. Why? Because there's still this stupid belief that if you fire somebody on Friday, they have a weekend to get over it so they don't come in on Monday and shoot you or pursue charges against you, except, of course, that has been repeatedly proven wrong. And a lot of the people who have gone into stores or where they and shoot people is they've done it because they got. So yeah, that doesn't work anymore, but companies still think it does. Puppies. Look at the corgis. All right, so blah 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 blah. We lost money. We're sorry. We still owe you $1 billion. We haven't failed to pay it back. We're still blaming it on eOne because we paid too much money on eOne and then we lost eOne at a huge thing. But guess what? Don't worry, because Furby's still making money and Monopoly Go is still making money. Magic the Gathering Online is still making money. Magic cards are still making money. And look, we sold so many players' handbooks. So many. Look, we sold 300,000 players' handbooks. We've sold at least 1 million players' handbooks. I mean, nobody's using them. And they're still sitting on the shelves gathering dust, but we definitely sold them. If you count the ones we sold at Gen Con, the pre-orders that nobody got, the stuff we sent to game shops a week before we were supposed to, then yeah, definitely we've sold a lot of players' handbooks, except that doesn't affect Q3. We'll see those sales affect Q4 because Q3 is showing a decline. Let's see what the Market Watch says. Company swung to a profit of 1.9 per share after posting a loss of 171.1 million or 1.3 shares. Hasbro is down 5.87 in the market. 1.281 billion down from the 1.503 billion of this time last year, but they're still blaming that on the, it's because we lost eOne. Most of the money was Magic the Gathering, but they lost money because they dropped Baldur's Gate. Oh, geez. And they fired all the people who were going to work on Baldur's Gate 3 and Baldur's Gate 4. Sorry, but looks like most of Wizards' money is from Monopoly Go, which made 30 million. And Furby. Now, before the numbers dropped, and I don't know if this has any effect on anything, but there was an announcement regarding Commander of all things, which somehow just sort of snuck underneath the radar. How is this the number one selling toy? They announced on October 22nd that they are taking over the Commander. They're running the Commander format panel now. Originally, the people running the panels and putting the rules for Commander was independent of Wizards, because Commander, was never supposed to be a thing. And then somehow it just took off and became a thing. And it became like one of the biggest things of Magic the Gathering. Like, more people play Commander than they do other formats. So now there's going to be a Commander format panel at Wizards, who I guess will be in charge of formatting the non-formatable Commander. So Commander went from, hey, I've got a bunch of cards I don't know what to do with, I'm going to just put them together in a random deck and see what happens, to Highlander, to two-headed dragon Highlander, where you have one, you can only have one of everything, to Commander, to now Commander has to have rules because people are using broken cards in Commander to coming up with broken things. So this is it. So whether that is paramount to any of the other restructuring, but it does seem to feel like they're doubling down on the acknowledgement that Magic the Gathering is still their workhorse. It's still the money. A Magic the Gathering Marvel Comics crossover, that's huge money for Wizards and huge money for Marvel. And for Marvel to say, yeah, instead of making our own CCG, you can have our guys for a bit. That's huge. Yeah. Now, in his letter, the guy who lost his job says he was informed of losing his job because of corporate restructuring. Dracoya and Pickle Dragon talk about the stuff of them being told they have to move from Wizards HASBRO Rhode Island to HASBRO Seattle. And there's also rumors that HASBRO Seattle wants to move to Boston. So I don't know if that is true. I don't know about restructuring. The last time they restructured, if you remember, they took apart a whole bunch of companies and parts of Hasbro and restructured them. During that restructuring, Wizards of the Coast became part of the digital gaming. And then there was some restructuring this time last year where they fired 1,001 employees. And then there was some more restructuring this time last year, late November, where a bunch of Wizards of the Coast employees lost their jobs, the people that actually did things. And now it looks like, once again, we're seeing people who actually do things at Wizards losing their jobs, because why employ 20 people when the AI is going to do 90% of the work, and I only need to keep a staff of 5 to make sure the AI does its job. Sadly, it doesn't look like Jeremy Crawford or Mackenzie Dioms is losing their jobs anytime soon, or Todd Kendrick, or any of the other talking robots. But Chris Perkins, no longer project lead. Now he is creative director, a position previously filled by Mike Merles into 2019, 2018. And then some other guy whose name I don't remember because he wasn't important. And now Chris Perkins will have Mike Merle's job. So it's gone Mike Merles, other guy, Chris Perkins. Of course, look what they did with Mike Merles. After he was creative director, they pushed him to the side and hit him over in the Magic the Gathering part instead of things. Now, I know we all thought Chris was leaving, and there was a rumor that Matt Mercer was going to take over Chris's job. And then people were like, why on earth would Mercer take over Chris's job? Well, that would be a huge step down. So that brings us back to where we started. I managed to keep this under 20 minutes, but in regards to the $1 billion that they lost in Q1 that they promised us they'd pay us back, us shareholders, because yes, I still have one share. Somehow they managed to lose money again. So we're still in the $1 billion deficit. We've lost money again. We're showing a profit in stock. Now, I'm not a stock market guy, but if you're posting losses of money and the stock shot up 91%, doesn't that usually mean a bad thing? Doesn't that mean people are expecting a layoff or buy high, sell low, right? Isn't that how it works? I don't know. Is there a stock market person out there anywhere who could correct me before I sound any stupider? But from, watching Trading Spaces with, Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, it's right. Buy high, sell. It's buy low, sell high. So I don't know what it means if they're posting a 40% loss, but stocks up 91% from this time last year. But I think it means people, and with rumors of a restructure, it probably means they're expecting a restructure and the stock to be worth more, I guess. I don't know. I guess we'll find out more tomorrow, right? Hasbro delayed posting this because they knew the numbers yesterday, but they didn't post this till today. So it's obviously pretty bad. We are looking at unfounded rumors of more people losing their jobs. If that happens, it'll happen tomorrow or after Thanksgiving or before Christmas. And then there's this mysterious restructure. So we can definitely 99% expect a restructure. What that means, I don't know. But if it's anything going by the previous restructures we've seen, it'll be Wizards of the Coast gets shuffled down even further, possibly more Wizards of the Coast employees losing their job because, hey, we're taking it digital and Dungeons and Dragons is no longer a game. It's a lifestyle brand and our stuff doesn't make us money anymore unless we license out the IP to others. Their words, not mine. Their words, not mine. Same thing they've been telling us they were going to do since 2020. January 2027, Dungeons & Dragons 6X is still on the schedule, and we still have that Dungeons & Dragons Hasbro 2030 rumor. Make of that what you will. I'm just going to leave you with this once again. This is the #1 selling Hasbro product. This, not Transformers, not My Little Pony, not Power Rangers, not Nerf, not Play-Doh. This. Just stare into its nightmare eyes and question your life on Earth. I'm the OG GM. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you never want to hear me talk about Wizards of the Coast ever again, let me know. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe or check out my merch, check out the links down below. Have a great weekend. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. It's Halloween. Go out. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. We will have more news as it breaks, I'm sure. Please go out and follow Roll for Combat, Professor Dungeon Master, Jerkoya, and the Pickle Dragon, because they're all the people who are getting this news. I'm just riding on their coattails. Links down below. You know what time it is. It's time for the song, because at the end of the day, we just have to look at the disaster that is Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition and go, fuck it, that's so Wizards.
Laughing aloud now, magic in the air. Wands roll around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so Wizards. Oh, 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 oh. Life is a